everyone, welcome to Underground Scholars Winter 21 podcast series, a podcast about elevating our formerly incarcerated and system impacted scholars' stories. You'll get the chance to listen to our members and advocates supporting USI 3 pillars through recruitment, retention, and advocacy. My name is Marisa Lopez, but you can call me Ritz. I'll be your host for Winter 21 USI podcast series. In today's episode, we have Andrew Guerrero, who is earning his PhD in American Studies at Harvard University. He received his bachelor's from UCLA, where he studied the history of racialized policing. He is a former co-chair of USI at UCLA, where he helped organize Just Culture. So let's get to know Andrew.
My name is Andrew Guerrero, and I am a second year doctoral student at Harvard in the American Studies program. Um, I'm a USI alum, was part of USI from 2017 until I graduated in 2019. And yeah, I'm happy to be on.
Thanks, man. But just to kind of correct you there, man, always a USI member. Once a
Oh,
USI member,
yeah,
is always a USI member.
yeah.
Already trying to take off the letters. But I'm glad that you're here. Definitely an alum. We appreciate the work Andrew has done. But I wanted to kind of like ask, what some things like you want to highlight being at USI.
Yeah, well, I got involved, um, like a lot of people at that time, with Underground Scholars because of Javier. I was, it was like the it was like the spring quarter or winter quarter of 2017, and yeah, I was having a hard time adjusting because of just a lot of things. Coming from community college, I transferred from Rio Hondo and Whittier. I was there for about 5 years, and the process of transferring, it was kind of it was pretty rocky. I didn't know like who to reach out to. I didn't know like how to navigate the system or anything. Like in my first quarter, I remember I was a good four, like I was multiple weeks in, maybe like 3 or 4 before I realized I wasn't even enrolled in any classes. Like I didn't know how to enroll in classes, you know what I mean? So so yeah, it took some getting used to, you know. So yeah, it was in the winter or spring quarter. I was walking through CPO. I was gonna use their computer lab. I think I lost my USB, so I went back to get it, you know. And I was wearing. I used to walk around campus with like huaraches all the time, and it was funny because most of, like people would come up to me like at parties and be like, "Hey, are you that guy that walks around with huaraches or whatever?" I would be like, I guess. And it's funny. So I was walking through CPO, right, and Javier walked up to me, and he used that to like spark up a conversation, you know. And he's like, "Yo, I see where'd you get your huaraches at or whatever." And we just started chopping it up, and he told me to if I have time to come through and meet with this new group that they had just started right here at UCLA, called Underground Scholars, right? So I dropped in a few meetings. It was about 4, maybe 5 people at each meeting. So it was like a real small group at the time. And and yeah, but I really got along with everybody, you know? Like these were some of the first people that I sort of identify with, who like the people I would normally hang out with outside of school, right? So I felt comfortable around them. And and yeah, so we kept in contact after that summer. When classes started back up in the fall is when I got really more involved. We sort of Javier did his thing recruiting, walking up to everybody that looked like a fool. It was he would just strike up a conversation and be like, "Yo, we got a meeting. What's up? Like, come through," you know. So so when we started back up in the fall, we started having like regular meetings, and the size of the group grew a lot. It would be like maybe 20 people at the meetings now, right? Um, and then yeah, from there I we did like a vote. Javier was sort of like the one of the because he was like one of the more active members in founding USI at UCLA. He became he was voted co-chair, and then we voted on other co-chairs, and I was sort of real reluctant to throw my name in the ring. Like I was sort of like pressured into it, but I'm glad Javier and others pressured me into it because it was a cool experience, you know. So yeah, I became co-chair in the fall, and then we started working on doing events. We did like a screening of a film, and then there was this idea that I had wanted to like bring to life ever since I got to UCLA, because before UCLA I used to like have these or throw these like lowrider picnics with my homegirl, right here at Leg Lake in South Amani. And we just used to like make a flyer, have like our friends come and like spin vinyl, DJ, and we just used to like party in the park, you know, and just invite a bunch of people, family and stuff. So I sort of wanted to bring that to UCLA,
Mm.
right? I was like, you know, I feel like UCLA didn't reflect the community in which it lied. You know what I mean? In which it exists. So so yeah, so I was sort of shopping that idea around to a few like orgs or just like people in administration on campus, because I didn't really know anybody, right?
Yeah.
So when I got involved with USI, I pitched it to a few folks, and everyone was hella down. And that's when we sort of started planning it. We got like we hit the ground running, and there were everyone like added added something to the event, you know. And then we had the event. Like we had it in the spring, and it was a small event, but like we were just glad that we pulled it off. And then the next year we learned from like what we did that year, and we made it like bigger and better, you know. So yeah, we had like vendors for the community, community orgs represented, formerly incarcerated folks like posted up, you know, and a bunch of lowriders coming through, food for the people, and performances like spoken word poets and musicians and folks from the community. And I feel like that was one of my favorite things about being at not even just with USI, but being at UCLA and in my like undergrad experience, you know.
Yeah, no, folks, this is like episode 3 or 4, so on that I'm working on. If you can tell, if you have been listening to past podcasts or just like audios, you can tell just that simple question. Do not hear any of our guest speakers take a pause to breathe. Like it's crazy. There's so much going on with USI. Like people are so passionate to talk about it because this is our community. This is the work we put into, and these are our lives. Like to show folks. Um, I want to ask you, like, what did you name the event that lowriders come on campus? Because I think that's one thing you miss, and why specifically the title of the event.
Okay, so um we shot there was a couple of ideas, like we wanted to call it like I think one of them was like Seeds of Justice, and then another one, but I didn't even feel like those things were like really fitting. So I asked a couple folks like what do they think about just culture? Like because we like sort of want to bring our culture on campus, right? And and then people liked it, right? And so I was like, all right, we'll just use it was sort of like a placeholder, like we'll use that until we come up with like a cooler name or whatever, you know. So eventually like originally when it was pitched, it was like yeah, that's what it means. This is like our culture being presented, but also like the persistence and the resistance that our culture has met, and how a lot of elements of our existence have been criminalized, and we wanted to forefront those elements within these institutions that have been complicit and actively playing a role in repressing us, you know, and repressing our like movement, you know. So so the elements of our culture that have been criminalized that we wanted to display were like the lowriders, street vending, um so like graffiti, the art, you know, and even just gatherings of black and brown people, of formerly incarcerated people, where with those things have been criminalized, you know, with like gang injunctions and who just rolling up on us for no reason. So these are all things that were like consciously thought through, that we wanted to forefront in this event, you know.
No, yeah, the first time um I got to interact with it virtually. So I didn't get the same experience, but seeing it was so intense. Like seeing it from a distance, you get me? Like knowing that, like if I were to stand on campus, because I'm a student at UCLA as well, and I'm like from UCLA, to know that like our people, our community is down here, like, that's indigenous land right there. It's already taking up space. And we're just like, for someone to tell us we're taking up space, we're like, nah, man, like we're just, using the space that's been provided for us. So it's amazing that like you're sharing that piece with us, just culture, because it's been following. It's been like a yearly thing for us now. Like even after you graduated, like new members start following and upcoming members start coming in. Um, and it's intense. I want to ask you, like, so community college, a lot of it's semester system, and then transitioning to quarter system, and then having to do all these extracurricular activities. How was that for you?
It was fucking tough. It was tough. But I would say one of the things I learned pretty quick is I nothing that I did was for one purpose. Everything was multi-purpose, you know what I mean? Um Even like, for example, if I were to do a paper on something, I would make sure that it counts for a class, like I get an A for it and I get paid for it, or and you know what I mean? Or it counts for like maybe two classes, and just be clear, like I'm working on one element of a paper for this and one element for this. So there's no wasted energy, you know what I mean? At least that's how I strive. Of course there was wasted energy, but like that's how I strive to be, you know what I mean?
That's
um
very strategic. That's something folks now who are listening, like who are also like who wear in your shoes or are in your shoes, like who identify formally card system impacted. Because I feel like one of the biggest barriers, like education, right? It's like, oh man, like am I equipped for this? Can I do this? Like, nah, like I don't want to do this no more. I'm just gonna give up and let it go. Like, what would you tell folks who are like, like let's say you're a couple years ago, like who would have thought? Like I'm pretty sure you questioned too, like where you're at, right? Like,
yeah,
what would you tell yourself back then to motivate yourself?
what would I tell myself? I would tell myself, I would actually say something that one of my friends told me. Um there's two things that I feel like helped me like keep pushing. And one of them was that I kept telling myself like this is not the hardest thing I've ever done. You know what I mean? Like generally, like I've been through what I've been through, and this is not the hardest thing I've ever done. I may have never done this, but I've been through the other things and persisted, right? And also, I am paving the way for people in my family, people in my community. So I'm not just doing it for me. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, it was. I'm not gonna lie, shit was fucking hard. Shit was tough. Um, we felt a lot of resistance. Trying to pull off just culture in the first place. There was a lot of resistance with like administration and just trying to set up the event. You know, during this time, I had like a lot of conflict with, I wouldn't say administration, but campus police. And it was like smack like in the middle of like all this organizing. I was targeted by campus police and arrested on multiple occasions, right? And and it was to the point where it was like, I don't know, like I don't know how to navigate this. And I was 100%, especially there was one instance where they arrested me and took me to like county jail. And I specifically remember like I don't have to put up with this shit, because I remember when I first got to UCLA, I felt like I didn't belong. USI made me feel like I belonged, right? And then administration, um, some faculty, and now the police are confirming my suspicions that I don't fucking belong here. Because that was one of the things they said. We just wanted to check if you belong here. You know what I mean? So after I felt like I didn't belong because of that. So I seriously considered dropping out. And after I got out, I went to group me, and I was just gonna check in with folks, you know, let them know I'm out, let them know I'm okay. And there was like 300 messages from underground scholars, like saying, "Yo, they want to check up on me or like help me out or whatever." So I made I felt like I had a community that supported me, and also USI, but also like some faculty who were really like supportive, you know. So that helped. I feel like that helped a lot, knowing that I had um I had like cultivated a support system that I felt like grew like pretty organically from when I started at UCLA, you know?
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out like, for folks who are always like hyper policing us, like even if they're not cops, right? Like what
Hmm.
is their what is their vision of what a student's supposed to look like? You get me? Like what
Yeah.
does that mean? Like
I
like
mean, I feel like we already know what they feel a UCLA student is supposed to look like, you know? But but yeah, I mean, and it doesn't end. Like in grad school, I had like similar experiences. Like I remember actually
tell us what grad school you're at. So
I'm
you graduated UCLA with what? And then you
so,
transitioned.
yeah, so I graduated UCLA with a bachelor's um in international development studies, and I started in the fall. I started a doctoral program at Harvard in American Studies. So it was my second semester at Harvard, right? And some folks from underground scholars actually met up with me from UCLA, met up with me at Harvard um, on our way to a conference. So I'm like, hey, fly into Boston. I'll show you around campus, right? And they're like, all right, for sure. So I'm showing around my build, my where my program is at, that building, right? And I'm showing them one of the conference rooms, and then an old white lady comes up to us, and she's like, hey, are you guys okay? What are you looking for? You guys workers? And and I was like, I knew what it was. I just snapped back at her. I'm like, nah, we're all students. I just walked away. You know what I mean? I feel like it's like little shit like that. Like we're not like we're
That's
not
insane.
seen as like we belong. You know what I mean?
That's crazy because all right, so kind of like side convo on this. So Henry Louis Gates, he's a well renowned like black professor at Harvard. This dude also got stopped by the cops. Like he was opening his door. He lives on like what is it? Like around the dorms or just like faculty housing. He got stopped as well. And that kind of just like you kind of look at the institution like aren't you supposed to like kind of already check in like or just do the basics like, or not even stress out. Like, why are you so surprised that a black and brown indigenous person of color is around this place?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then like at the end of the day, that's what the police are set up to do, right? That's what the police are set up to do. It's not a like a defect or anything. It's the feature of the institution. You know what I mean? It's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. So, what have you been up to now? I feel like a lot of you had spoken about kind of sounds the work you're doing. Do you want to share, if anything, what you're currently doing?
Yeah, so I sort of in the doctoral program, I sort of became interested in a lot. They give us a lot of freedom to sort of like explore an interest, right? Um, so generally, I've been working on stuff around policing. My primary field is history, and yeah, I wrote a little bit about like technology and policing, predictive policing, and I think one of the main things that I've been sort of working on is campus policing. Ever since that incident, it sort of like sparked my interest in the intersection of like university studies and also policing studies. You know what I mean? And I feel like um yeah, and I feel like I was well positioned to do that work. And right now I'm actually working with No UCPD Coalition and the $1 Million Hoods Project to produce some work on the UCPD and campus police.
Nice. Yeah, we have one of our current members from USI, Michelle, who's also part of No UCPD. So hopefully we get the chance to interview her as well, and she can elaborate a little bit more about the work. So I do appreciate you, man, sharing. I want you to also like, do you have any words of inspiration to tell our formerly incarcerated brothers and sisters out there who might be like kind of at school at the moment? Like, what do I do? Like, should I even move forward? Should I let go of school? Like, I'm being harassed on campus. Like, and there's no community or like group like USI here in CC?
Hmm. Um, it's tough, you know. I feel like every situation is different, um, but I would say for me, what helped me, I can only speak from my experiences. That community is like helped me a lot, and it doesn't have to be on campus community either. You know what I mean? On campus community is cool because y'all are going through similar stuff with like schooling and stuff, but just having like folks you could talk to and having that support system is super important. You know?
During the last months, our communities have been vigorously discussing and taking steps to make sure that our schools are eliminating barriers and providing the support and opportunities that will ensure the empowerment and success of students of color and other marginalized groups. We are here sharing this statement to acknowledge our brothers and sisters who are currently incarcerated. We also want to acknowledge our formerly incarcerated brothers and sisters who have not yet shared their stories. We're hoping to elevate our Black, Indigenous people of color, formerly incarcerated students hustle. So, interested in collaborating, having general questions, please feel free to reach out our program's email at undergroundscholars@saonet.ucla.edu. That's all for now, folks, but I'll see you in the next episode of Underground Scholars.